गोमानेस मुसुल मंत्री हतानाज मुसरात गोमानेस मुसुल सचिव संदीप जज IAS मानेस कलेक्टर नो मैडम स्नेहा दीदी मानेस कलेक्टर साहब अश्विन चंद्र सर गोमानेस आमदार WEBTV मानेस जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी सुरेंद्र बाबू मुझोईश तुलियो बाबू ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कमिटी चेयर म्हणजे संगाती वांगडी ऑनरेबल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स ऑफ कोमुनिदाद मोबाइल डेलिगेट्स स्पेशल इन्वाइटीज मनीष पत्रकार आणि मानेस्तान आर्टिकल 652 नेमाप्रमाणे हे ऐतिहासिक कोमुनिदादीचे परिषद कन्व्हेन्शन तुमकां उलोवणी दिवता ही जावन आसा आमची चवथी परिषद पयली परिषद घडोवन हाडली जानेवारीच्या म्हयन्यान 1997 वर्सा दुसरी ऑक्टोबर म्हयन्यान 2009 वर्सा आणि तिसरी जानेवारी 2019 वर्सा आज आमी गोंयचे दायजाचे राखणदार कशे एकठांय जे दायज आमकां पिळगेचे पिळगे कडसून देऊन आयलां आनी जाणट्यांक गोंयचें रूप करून आयलां आमच्यो कोमुनिदादी जावन आसात न्हयच फकत जमिनीची सत्या वो हक्क लँड रायट्स पूण एके तरेचे जिवे करार आमचे एकोटीत उर्बेचे तत्वांचे आनी आमच्या आलोनात असलें बंधन आमच्या जिविताचे खेरीत चाल राखून दवरपाक आमी हे गरजेची भासाभास सुरू करतना हांव तुमचे तांय मागतां की तेच एकवटाचे उर्बेत आनी मानान तें फुडें व्हरून जशे परी शेकडेपती आमच्या संस्थाक स्पश्टपणी ओळखून आयल्या ही चर्चा खरेंच फळादीक आनी अर्थभरीत जावं ते विशीं थोडे कांय नेम रुल्स आनी मुद्दे इश्यूज हांव तुमच्या मुखार मांडूंक सोदतां पयलें म्हणल्यार सहकाराचें मन कोलॅबोरेटीव स्पिरीट दुसरें म्हणल्यार तुमचे विचार मांडपाची तोरा जापसालदारकेची जावन मेक युअर सबमिशन्स विथ अ सेन्स ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी तिसरें म्हणल्यार उपाय सोदून काडपाचें मन सोल्युशन्स ओरिएंटेड अप्रोच आमी सगळे वी आर कनेक्टेड with our Comunidade for quite a period of time. We are aware of the problems. What we want to know from you are your solutions. चौथे म्हणल्यार आमची रीत मर्यादेची वागणूक let us follow the highest standards of parliamentary conduct and etiquette. आमी विसरूंक फावना की आमचे एकवटाचे बळ आमचे एकोटीत आवाजान रिगवलें आसा म्हणून Our strength lies in our unity. वो हेतू नोंदरे मुखार घेवन आनी फुडाराक आमचे कोमुनिदादीचें बरें जावचें हो दिश्टावो घेवन निवडपणी आमचे विचार फुडें घालुया ही परिशद सोंपून वेतना फकत थाराव मांडून न्हय पूण नवो बरवासो घेवन आलोनात असलो एकवट आनी परजोबीत फुडाराक वचप सांगातान वावर करपाचें बंधन घेवन वचुया आयज म्हाका एक सोत तुमच्या मुखार दवरूंक जाय जे हाचेर पयलीं केन्नाच म्हणूंक ना देर इज दीस व्हेरी इंट्रस्टिंग फॅक्ट that is there today which I would like to share with you. आमचे गोमानेस महसूल मंत्री आणि गोमानेस महसूल सचिव दोगूय कोमुनिदादीचे गांवकार जावन आसात मानेस मसरात बाब जावन आसा गांवकार मोरू गांवचे केरोसी कोमुनिदादीचो आनी मानेस श्री जाकीर बाब जावन आसा गांवकार इलियस मालार कोमुनिदादीचो सर म्हाका खात्री आसा आमचे गोंयचे दायजाचो खेरीत पाग बरोच जिवंत करचे खातीर ज्यो कितें सुचोवण्यो आयज हे परिशदेंत मुखार येतात तांकां ते फावो ते रितीन आपल्या विचारांत घेतले तुमी चिंतन कान दिवन म्हाका आयकलो देखून तुमकां दिनवास सगळ्यांक तुमकां फळादीक आनी अर्थाभरीत चर्चा हांव येता देव बरें करूं
Thank you, Shri Savio Korea, for setting the tone for the discussion, adding a unique perspective to our discussion. Let's hear from our special invitee, Shri Tulio D'Souza.
आमचे माचयेर बसलेले भोवमानेस्त महसूल मंत्री बाब अतानास्यो बाबूश मंचाराक, तशेंच आमचे महसूल सचिव बाब संदीप जाकीश, आमचे कोमुनिदाद कमिशनाचे नेमलेले मॉडरेटर आनी म्हजो इश्ट बाब सावियो कुर्रेय, ताचे दुसरे वांगडी जे ताका आयज ही परिशद कंडक्ट करपाक ताका सहकार आनी आदार करतले बाब मावीन, बाब नेल्सन, बाब स्टेफान आनी बाब अविनाश. आमचे नॉर्थ उत्तर गोंयचे आनी दक्षिण गोंयचे कलेक्टर्स मॅडम स्नेहा गीते आनी बाब अश्विन चंद्रू, हांगासर हाजीर आसलेले इन द ऑडियन्स आमचे कारांबोलीचे प्रेसिडेंट आनी गोंयचे विधानसभेचे वांगडी आनी आमदार बाब वेन्झी एडश, तशेंच रेव्हेन्यू डिपार्टमेंटाचे दुसरे ऑफिशियल्स आनी भोव मोगाळ म्हज्या सगळ्या कोमुनिदादीचे हांगासर आयिल्ले डेलिगेट्स ह्या परिशदेक शिताबेन वांटो घेवपाक. बाब सावियोन सांगला ते प्रमाणे बरे भशेन आमचे विचार मांडून ह्या परिशदेचो कोमुनिदादीच्या डेव्हलपमेंटाक उदरगतीक आमी एक आमचे कॉन्ट्रिब्युशन करया. आनी म्हाका खात्री आसा की ही परिशद जी म्हाका दिसता कांय वर्सां जावन कोवीड कारणान जावं एकदा इलेक्शनाच्या म्युनिसिपल इलेक्शनाच्या कारणान लागून ही परिशद फुडें व्हरची पडली. आज फायनली आमचे महसूल मंत्रीन ही परिशद घेवपाक आमकां परवानगी दिली आनी तांचे हितून व्हडलें कॉन्ट्रिब्युशन आसा, तशेंच भाशेन दुसरे रेव्हेन्यू ऑफिशियल्स. कांय तुमचे मुखार व्हडलें भाशण करिना, कित्याक म्हाका दिसता सगळ्यांक आनी हांव तुमचेच भाशेन एक डेलिगेट आनी हांव प्रेसिडेंट गिरी बार्देजान गिरी कोमुनिदाद. कांय तुमचे मुखार आयज विचार मांडटा की ही परिशदेक आमी कशे भशेन आमी वांटो घेवचो आनी कशे भशेन हे जे कोमुनिदादी मुद्दे जे आमकां फेस करून पडटात ताचेर आमी आमचे विचार मांडया आनी आमकां एक सोल्युशन्सूय काडया. We all know that the legislative diploma 2070 of 15461 is a beneficial legislation for the benefit of administering, managing and governing these unique village cooperatives which are ancient bodies of our forefathers inherited by us. The code is an excellent compilation of the laws of the ancient usages and customs. As a follow-up to this compilation, first, the Foral of 1526, the earlier Code of Comunidades of 1904 and 1933. I must say that the current Code of Comunidades is a beautiful piece of legislation, although compiled and notified during the erstwhile regime, but totally democratic in spirit, and we have been able to govern and manage these comunidades efficiently with this code. This code has put the burden of governing the assets held in these comunidades in the hands of every elected managing committee for the betterment of the respective villages and the Gaonkars of that Comunidade. In reality, these were Comunidades agrícolas, and agriculture was and continues to be the main thrust and objective of this code, to see that all the lands that are held in the common ownership of the Comunidades are put to fruitful use by promoting agriculture in every sense of the term. Today, we are at a crossroads because besides agriculture being scientifically promoted and mechanized, it is incumbent on the Comunidades helped by the government to see that these new innovations in agriculture are brought into reality by using them in the lands held by the Comunidade. And here, let me mention that in the past at least 20 years, if I am not wrong, or 25 years, agricultural production and the land under cultivation has drastically declined. It is a very sad commentary because Goa was an agrarian economy, and we have to see that agriculture is restored back into these very lands and fields where we have the opportunity of growing up. Otherwise, we are going to pass a different tradition and a different perspective to the new generations. There are a lot of issues that plague this particular implementation, because we know that the Agricultural Tenancy Act has come into force from 1964, followed by the amendments in 1976, which have given more powers of these lands to the tenants or cultivators. We have no issue with this, but we only want the cultivators to see that these lands are used for the purpose of cultivation and not used for any other purpose, as is being widespread happening all over the state. Comunidades, as envisaged in the earliest times, have been great vehicles of development and social change, and the committees have discharged their responsibilities from many years towards this direction. I must add that all these years, the lands of Comunidades have been acquired by the government for development of infrastructure, bridges, roads, and other infrastructure facilities being created throughout the state. And the Comunidades have been willing partners to the government to see that these infrastructure facilities are developed. The Comunidades have never backed out, but the Comunidades have always made a point to tell the government that when land is being acquired for commercial purposes like IDC, EDC, Housing Board, and many other facilities which give income to the government, the Comunidades should be made stakeholders in such development, so that some benefits and profits from such a development do accrue to the Comunidades and they become partners in the growth of this state. Coming back to the Code of Comunidades, as I said, it's a very resilient legislation that has withstood the test of time for the last 70 years or thereabouts. Just like our Constitution of India, which has been a remarkable piece of legislation compiled by our forefathers, and we have been abiding in the spirit and letter of this. However, due to the changing times, circumstances, laws, and technology, we do find ourselves sometimes in a very difficult situation to implement some of the provisions that are contained in this code, just like any other law. So what we need to tell the government that certain reforms, certain changes which are in the form of reforms need to be made to this piece of legislation so that there is a better implementation and it becomes easier for the people to be part of this inclusive process and not an exclusive piece of legislation. So, the best possible way to do this would be if the government, whenever such reforms, such amendments are proposed, they should come from the Gauntas, the components of various comunidades, or even if the government feels fit to do certain amendments, there has to be a dialogue in a collaborative spirit, as our moderator has said. Only through dialogue, I think we can achieve a lot. And when we arrive at certain common decisions for the common good of these bodies and the Gauntas, we can and may go ahead with this type of changes. Touching upon the administrative aspect of the Comunidades, we know that all the Comunidades, all the 223 Comunidades in the state are being administered through the north and the south and the central zones. While the central zone administration and the administrative building was renovated and certain changes were done during the tenure of the previous Revenue Minister, Madam Jennifer Monsara, the north and the south administration buildings are in bad shape. We have even told the respective administrators' offices that the member comunidades who constitute the respective zones are ready to come forth with their voluntary contribution and see that these offices are restored to its old. They are all very good buildings, heritage buildings, and as an architect I can tell you, they value add to the heritage portfolio of the state. So let us see that our north and south zone buildings immediately are restored and the administration is toned up. Clerks need to be appointed. Currently there are, like every clerk, at least in the north, is holding some 6, 7, 8 charges. Very difficult for them to do justice to the duty that they are trying to discharge. And in this way, probably the administrative setup gets hampered. So we need to see that after the buildings are restored or even before that, the administration and the constitution of these administration offices needs to be toned up, and I'm sure our Revenue Minister will pay attention to this particular aspect. There are many other issues that I'm sure will be part of the deliberation, like the applicability of RTIs to the Comunidades. Then there are other issues like illegal constructions and Article 371 and 372 being utilized. The provisions of these articles being utilized in a way that illegal constructions are not promoted, but they are dealt with as per the law. Time and again, we hear that illegal constructions have to be regularized and things like that. But my firm submission is that we need to see that as managing committees, that we keep a watchful eye on the lands belonging to the respective comunidades and see that illegal constructions do not come up, and if they come up, they are immediately dealt with as per the provisions of the prevailing laws. We have the Comunidade Code and we have got the Land Revenue Code also, especially under Article 333.3, where such encroachments can be summarily removed. There is also the provisions of the Goa Prohibition of Construction Act, where comunidades specifically have been brought under the provisions of this act, where any encroachments or illegalities are firmly dealt with as per the provisions of the respective laws. The system of checks and balances in this Comunidade Code exists beautifully if one goes to Article 38 to J and 34A to J and Article 31 and Article 64.1. So the government has to discharge their due responsibility in providing administrative tutelage to these comunidades as provided for in the law. And I am sure with this type of a harmonious relationship between these comunidade committees, which have a fair amount of autonomy as envisaged in the legislation, the government's tutelage will go a long way to see that our bodies can be administered in a proper manner. I will not take more of your time. We are all grateful to the Revenue Department, led by its Revenue Secretary, the Honorable Revenue Minister, Babush Monsarat, for taking the initiative to convene a session of this code, of this Comunidade Convention as provided for in the code under Article 652, for members representing various comunidades as delegates to come here, express their views and engage in a fruitful deliberation so that we can pass some resolutions for the action of the Revenue Department and the government for the greater good of the comunidades and the greater good of the state of Goa. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Sri Tulio D'Souza, for sharing your unique perspective. Your presence has added a layer of wisdom that will undoubtedly shape the course of discussion today. Our program now takes a momentous turn as we prepare to listen to the distinguished leader who has graciously accepted our invitation today. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Revenue Minister, Sri Atanasio Monserrat, to share his thoughts with us.
Good morning and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries, including Sri Sandeep Jaffis, Secretary Revenue, Collector of North and South, Revenue Department officials, Comunidade Convention members, and nominated delegates. Your presence adds great significance to today's Comunidade Convention, where we anticipate engaging in constructive discussion and fostering collaboration that will shape the progress of our communities. In the enchanting state of Goa, we take pride in our unique features, notably the Uniform Civil Code and the ancient Comunidade institution, which has stood the test of time for over 1,000 years. Originating as the Gaonkari system and a self-governing cooperative managing community lands, it evolved into the Comunidades after the Portuguese arrival in 1510. Maintaining the joint administration and enjoyment of communal lands today, we celebrate and cherish our rich history and heritage. Currently, Goa has 223 comunidades, governed through central, north and south zones, each led by dedicated administrators. Article 5 of the Code plays a crucial role, allowing state administrative tutelage as a guardian role, ensuring adherence to the code and protecting the institution. The Code of Comunidade meticulously defines roles, powers, and functions of all authorities, emphasizing the need for constant improvement. Success is not solely dependent on legal structures, but also on the ethical conduct of those involved. Continuous improvement is the key to preserving the essence of the Comunidade institution. I wish to emphasize my commitment in prioritizing the resolution of pending Comunidade issues and protection of their land. Encroachment cases will be expedited within a year, with administrators directed to utilize powers under the Goa Land Prohibition of Construction Act 1995. The government stands ready to support administrators with infrastructure and manpower. Field surveyors have been deployed to aid in the survey of encroached lands, and the government is taking proactive measures. Recognizing the need for revival of inactive communities, the government has initiated due procedures supported by amendment to Article 70. Article 334 now mandates Comunidade's consent for government land acquisition. The government annually grants rupees 250 lakhs for employee salary under the grant in aid policy. Article 339A and 339B and 652 have been introduced to address discussion, protection and suggestion of Comunidade progress. Your suggestions and input on empowering females, benefits for specific groups and transfer restrictions are invaluable and warmly welcome. Cooperation between Comunidade bodies and the government is pivotal for society good. Today's deliberations are anticipated to yield valuable suggestions, and I assure you that the government is committed to support this implementation. Thank you for your active participation, and together let us work towards and betterment and advancement of our cherished Comunidade. Thank you once again.
Our deepest appreciation to our chief guest, Shri Anastasia Masara, for gracing us with your words of wisdom and encouragement. Your insights as the Honorable Revenue Minister provide a guiding light as we navigate the path of community development and collaboration. Concluding this session with profound gratitude, I invite Mr. Nelson, the attorney of Asla Comunidade and the Comunidade Commission member, to express their collective appreciation.
Good morning, everybody. I am Mr. Nelson Fernandez, the attorney of the Comunidade of Asagao. Thankfully, I have been given the easiest job in the inaugural ceremony of this convention, that is proposing the vote of thanks. I take this golden opportunity to thank our chief guest, the Honorable Revenue Minister, Mr. Atanasio Babush Monserrat, for so graciously accepting our invitation and making the time in his busy schedule to come and scatter the pearls of wisdom that he has just mentioned. I also thank him, thank you very much, sir, for your commitment towards our communities. We really appreciate the interest you take in bettering our age-old institutions. In the same vein, I thank the CM, Dr. Pramod Sawant, who has approved under the aegis of the Revenue Department to hold this convention under Article 652. I profusely thank also the Revenue Undersecretary, Mr. Sandeep Jakes. We could not have done it without your support, sir. And that smile of yours is so infectious. Even when you were guiding us to have a successful convention. You were doing it with that infectious smile of yours. Thank you very much. We are honored here to have the Collector North, Madam Sneha Gite, and the Collector South, Sir Ashwin Chandru. Their presence has uplifted this function here. I also thank the Joint Secretary, Mr. Surendra Naik, for having the introductory speech and helping us throughout the 2-3 sessions that we had to organize this convention. I thank the Deputy Collectors, North and South, and a special mention to Mr. Kedar Naik, who is sitting right here in front of us, to be on the ground and supervise the entire arrangements here in this hall. Thank you, sir. I thank my brother Tulio D'Souza, who is also the president from the Giri Comunidade, for a very informative speech that he gave. Thank you. I now come to the administrators of North, Sir Sagar Gowde, Central, Sir Priti Das, and South, Pradeep Naik, for being there always and trying to solve our different situations. The Mamledars who are present here, all the staff of the Revenue Department and other government officials. I thank the MC of the inaugural ceremony, Rushika Kauntankar, for conducting the entire inaugural function. I also thank the officials of the NIU for giving us such a good venue. Special thanks to Mr. Manoranjan, who was present here on the floor yesterday helping us throughout the setting up of the place. I thank the RTO officials who are out in the sun directing the traffic and arranging the parking in a systematic manner. I thank all our police officials here who are providing the security. I also thank the members of our Article 652 Convention Committee, our moderator Mr. Savio Correa, Mr. Steven DeMello, Avinash Tavares, Marvin Gonsalves, and last but not the least, our backend support Mr. Ashley Delaney, the attorney of the Comunidade of Saligao, who's put in a lot of effort to get all the arrangements done. And the most important people, you my brother, Gaonkars and shareholders. I applaud you for your concern and all your genuine solutions and the ideas that are going to come up here. Thank you so much for coming from far and wide to attend this convention here. I end with a small snippet from the Indian mythology. When the gods were churning the oceans, there were a lot of different things that turned up from it. But the most important thing that turned up was Amrut, which is the elixir of life. And they all drank it and they became immortal. As we churn our minds and our hearts for the benefit of our institution with all our solutions, our ideas, our problems, let the best thing that comes out of it be positivity. The positivity which will infuse new life into our old age institutions. Thank you. Deo Pareku.
A sincere thank you to Mr. Nelson for conducting this segment with a gracious vote of thanks. Your acknowledgement of our guests, participants, and contributors wraps this section with a bow of appreciation, setting the tone for a collaborative journey ahead. Friends, we now conclude the inaugural session and we will take a short 5-minute break before we take the stage to start the first session. Thank you.
You allow us to speak. I am the Amrut. The gods have churned us. What I'm telling you, you are giving wrong information. The Land Revenue Code is in direct conflict with the code of the Comunidade. Who has given you the information, that we don't have problem with tenancy? You are taking our land at 40 paise and selling in the market. What is this?
Right now we are closing the session.
Yeah.
What is the closing? You hear from us, we are the delegates.